Hello everybody. Welcome to our session on Openshift. And since we are talking about Openshift, I thought it would be cool to have a Spring Boot application deployed on Openshift, which is serving our application. But it's not available yet, so let's fix that first. Readable. So what I will do now is just process a runtime template from Openshift. It will create the necessary things to get the presentation up and running. Just to prove I'm not cheating. So there's nothing yet, no services, no deployment configs, no build configs. Also in the UI of Openshift, nothing to see at the moment, so let's start. Sorry. Okay. Okay. In the same UI, we see it's refreshed and the service is started. It should be hosted on a port. We can dig down into the pod and just see the output. And we see that here in the bottom, the application is started. Just to be sure, the application starts, so now we can go save to the presentation. Refresh. Okay, here we go. Full screen mode. Okay, so we will be talking about CI/CD with GitLab and Openshift at Axians, how we are doing it. The presentation, I will push it to my GitHub account, which is just my name. You will find me on GitHub so that it's available for everybody. Okay. Demo time, we had that. Woo. Thank you, Murphy, for staying away. So if Openshift is stated in the rest of the presentation or mentioned, we actually mean Openshift Container Platform because that's the official name.
All right, and since this is call it a partner talk, I'm going to do the commercial stuff. Just to introduce me quickly. So I'm already for 13 years at Axians. Well, that's the longest time I could be because I'm not old enough. I started as a Java developer. Just did some technical lead. Then doing some solution architecture, and currently I'm lead for our industrial software solutions, which is a core activity for Axians in Belgium. And of course, if I'm doing industry, I really like industrial IoT. And yeah, we are really a company that is doing industrial IoT all the time. So we are doing real projects and real cool stuff with IoT, how to apply it. See you back.
Okay, about myself. I'm since 2001 in the software industry. I'm since 2006 at Axians. I also started as Java dev as a UX, but then I fell in love with Groovy. And currently I'm exploring Kotlin a bit. Okay. I'm just overall passionate about creating software, but also delivering it. And that's what Openshift and continuous integration and delivery is all about. Okay. So why do we use CI/CD at Axians? Because we don't like bugs. Everybody doesn't like it. So a commit should be properly tested. Every commit should be tested, but also in an automated manner. Okay. On the other hand, we want to automate the deployments to minimize human errors. Everybody made mistakes during deployments. So if it's automated, you rule that out. Another important thing is that you can keep track of what is deployed, where, and when. Okay. Then our customers, they want fast results, okay? But they still want to stay in control of when something is get deployed in production. So you should be able, for certain customers, that you don't do it fully automated the whole way until in production. Okay. So the tools that we are using at Axians, the basic tools that we are using for this topic are Gitlab, Openshift, and Artifactory from JFrog. Okay. Let's start with Artifactory. Okay. For the guys who don't know it, it's an internal proxy. It's an artifact repository. We serve it as an internal proxy for all the Gradle and NPM artifacts. So it's an artifact repository. I mentioned that already. It's also our internal repository for the projects that we deliver, build artifacts from NPM or Gradle. Okay. It's also serving our Docker images for Spring Boot on the other hand, and for the GitLab runner Docker images on the other hand. Okay. Let's move on to GitLab. GitLab is mainly used in our company, of course, as a version control system. It has nice merge requests or pull requests if you're familiar with the GitHub or Bitbucket tools. It's the same thing. It has a really nice integrated CI and CD pipelines and integrated with the merge requests and all the rest of the system. And it has a nice support for pipeline as a code also. So you can do it in the YAML configuration in your Git repository, and if for a certain branch additional steps, jobs are needed, you can do that easily. Okay? And of course, we have Slack integration. Okay, let's go for the demo. Sorry, too fast. So this is the actual presentation also that is hosted on our GitLab. The basic things that you have everywhere, so you can see the overview of the project. It can parse ASCII doctor and so on. You can see some activity commits, not that interesting. But okay, if we go to CI/CD and we head for the pipelines, you can see when I was creating this presentation, so it's also gone to the CI/CD pipeline. So over here you see the different steps in the pipeline, the different stages they are called, and in each stage you have jobs that can be done. So compiling, performing unit tests. I didn't write unit tests for the presentation. Sorry. Deploy to integration, for example. Okay. For demo purposes, I just prepared a simple merge request who isn't doing a lot. But if you started with the work in progress name, you see it isn't possible to merge it into the master branch in this case, because it's still marked as work in progress. But what you can see is that over here, it has already been into the CI pipeline, and it has been completely successfully completed the compilation and verification phase. Okay. So how is this done in the GitLab YAML file? I will just take snippets, present snippets from that file over here. So you define an easy way your different stages, sorry. And then you define the different jobs that need to be done. A job is attached to a certain stage, and then you can just, like you would do on any Linux machine, execute some commands And we don't want it to fail, of course, but it is possible to set it to true if you want it to be failable. Okay. So in the verification phase, we perform the unit test, just the same thing. But what's also interesting is that you can record artifacts. For example, we know that the JUnit tests will be in that directory. So if it failed, it will record the artifacts produced that you can review it in the admin tool. Okay, that was it for GitLab. Let's go for Openshift.
Time for a commercial break. Okay, guys. Let me take 5 minutes of call it your disinteresting time. What I want to show you is a number of call it things we are doing at Axians, and one of the first things I want to show you is MyStuff. It is a product which is being developed at our as a project at our premise. In essence, it's basically a planning tool for medical staff teams. So, as you might know, a hospital is a very busy, very cozy environment to run. There are a lot of people that are involved in guiding or serving the medical treatment, and proper planning is very essential to them. So, MyStuff really helps in planning all this medical stuff in a correct way. Now, what is MyStuff? It's not a traditional planning tool. It's not like AXL in which you include a number of people and then just put them on a calendar. No, MyStuff goes a number of steps further. It includes like parameters in which you can say, okay, these are like for a roster, for a planning roster. These are like the minimum things I really would like to include. For example, I really want always to have like a doctor with a certain level of expertise available during night shift. I want to have like a minimum of nurses available for specific needs for my patients. So these are really parameters you can specify up front before doing your planning. Secondly is also look at your team. We include like the feeling or the requirements of the team. When people would like to have holidays, when people are working in shifts, for example, doing a night shift, well, that really is harder than doing a day shift. So just making sure that when you have done a night shift, you're not have to do a day shift directly after it. Again, including this kind of extra variable. Second or third one is the non-intrusive part for the planner. So basically, a planner in a traditional way of working, he should like think in all these kind of variables, including, okay, yeah, but I have to make sure that this doctor is there, and I have to make sure that this guy is on holiday, and secondly, this shift for this planner, for this medical staff. Well, that's hard for the planner. So we want to make the tool MyStuff to be as easy as possible for the planner as well. Yeah, and last but not least, of course, we need to find like the optimal planning, respecting all these variables, all these desiderata, to find, of course, the optimal planning. So MyStuff, again, is not a traditional planning tool. It's a planning tool that wants to find the optimal planning for the medical staff teams, so they have like the best planning that is available, giving with respect to the parameters that were set up front. Yeah, and of course, things can happen last minute. Things like illness, things like peak loads that happen due to an external disaster that, for example, happened. Well, last minute planning, or at least finding the impact on your planning, is important as well. So MyStuff really includes this kind of features to cope with this last minute changes in respect, again, to the desiderata, to all the variables. How does it look? Just some screenshots I want to share. So this screen really includes like all your team members. So basically the people, the members of your hospital. And on the right side of the screen, you can see all the, call it, requirements or requests from the member or from the people itself, saying, okay, I have a holiday on that one, I have this, I would like to work on night shifts, so I would like to work on day shifts. So basically this is the one part of the input. Then you have like a proposal of the planning saying, okay, this is like the planning roster, so including all the variables. This is the results of saying, okay, at the first shift, Lila Lee on Sunday has to work, and then and so on and so on. And the third one is like having the personal calendar, because you got planned by a planner. But secondly, you also want to have this available on your mobile. So having a personal work calendar available. This is also a functionality which is available within MyStuff. So always your medical staff is always up to date on the latest way how he has planned, or at least how he is expected to be expected at work. So let's continue to the interesting part again.
Thank you. Okay, back to Openshift. At Axians, we have roughly 15 projects and counting in parallel. For each project, we have 4 environments. This is quite time-consuming for system admins to set up and maintain all these environments and their databases, etc. Okay. So, Openshift makes it easy for the sysadmins to add extra nodes if the capacity isn't enough with the current nodes. An important part for the customers and for we as developers is that there's environment isolation, so that within a certain project, an application cannot connect to a database or a production database if it's not allowed to. Of course, for the customers' need, it's interesting that if the load is high on your application, that some kind of auto-scaling is provided. And if a new version with a bug fix or a new feature comes, that it's rolling upgrading, that there is no downtime for the end user in the case. So, of course, Red Hat is supporting open source and enterprise support for Openshift. It has a cool web interface, as you have seen, and even a cooler CLI. Okay. This is a bit of ASCII art. It's a lot, but mainly how we do it in Actions is that we have a development project on the left side, and then a runtime project, as we know it, call it on the right side, one for integration, one for QA, and one for production. Okay. In the runtime project, you have the pod. The pod is a Kubernetes term for a Docker container who is running or not running. Could be down, killed. A pod contains a Spring Boot application, a database, a mail server, everything that you want to put in it can be deployed into a Docker container, a pod. Okay. And it, for example, exposes port for the Spring Boot applications. This is commonly 8080 or 8081. Okay. And pods are teared down and spinned up at the will of Openshift. So if on one node the load is getting too high or the memory is falling short, it will tear down pods from one node and spin them up on other nodes. And this happens without the notice of having any downtime. Okay, that's it for pods. The next one is the service. Okay. Services are in fact load balancing the traffic to the underlying pods. So you can say I want to have 4 of my Spring Boot pods, 2 of my database pods, and above that pods you will have a service who is the abstraction and who is dividing the load to the different underlying pods. Okay. They are also used by the pods to communicate to other services. So you will never have one pod communicating directly to another pod. You communicate via the service, so you don't have to know the exact IP address of the pod because it can change all the time. Okay. And a service can be exposed to the outside world via routes. That's what you see and how this demo is presented at the moment. Okay. The key part now is the deployment config for the runtime project. It's the hardest one to understand also. Okay. So the deployment config basically is the configuration and the gatekeeper for the pods so that the pods are correctly started. The number, he knows all about the pod configuration. So he knows which ports are exposed and so on. He knows how many replications there should be done, how the update strategy should be done, rolling or not rolling, what the resource limits are, how many memory can each pod have, and so forth. And of course, very important, also he has notice of health checks. He will know if a pod is not behaving correctly, he will shut it down and spin up a new one. Okay. And it also links to an image stream. And an image stream is, I will get to, it links to an image stream tag. That's also visible in the link over here. I will get to that in a second, what the image stream tags are. Okay, let's go to image streams. Image streams are kind of hard to explain, but the best thing I came up with yesterday was a Gitish thing for Docker containers. So on each new build, a new commit is created and attached to the image stream. And commits are taggable. You can, for a certain build, tag that commit and say, this is my end version right now. And that's how we are deploying different versions. Okay. And in this demo, I just want to show you some key parts of the Openshift template I processed to create this application to get it live. Okay. So in the template, there's a YAML configuration. You say we have a template over here. And then you define different blocks. So we have one for deployment config. You see also that you can use variables or parameters in this section. And these parameters are then resolved, and you can specify them so you can create. In fact, what we are doing is we have one runtime template who is used by, and it's kind of like this one, for all our runtime projects. Okay, so we have one for services also, and a root, for example, and then via the variables you can say, okay, I want this to be available on that URL. Okay, let me just show you in Openshift. In the beginning of the presentation, I did this by the command line, but you can also just paste it over here and just say create, let's process this template. And then you see the parameters I have listed. I can change them. You can specify default values for it. And then if you push create, it will be created. But I will cancel it, otherwise my presentation will be gone. Okay, back to GitLab. The pipeline as code. Now the CD part, the continuous delivery part. Exactly the same again. It's attached to a certain stage. We are over here building our Spring Boot application. Sorry. I think it's terminal for some strange reason. And then what we are doing is over here, starting the SA command with start build. We just push the produced jar from the Gradle to our image stream. Okay. The result of that is that a new commit is added to our image stream, and on the next line, we are tagging the latest version of that image stream with something that we can use in the future. What is nice in GitLab is that you can say, I only want this to happen when a tag is pushed, for example, to our Git system. In this way, we make a difference between continuous delivery and continuous integration. So a tag is a trigger in our repositories for a release, and then it will go into the release pipeline also. Otherwise, it will only be the continuous integration part of the pipeline. Okay, deploying to integration is very simple. It has nothing to do with Gradle anymore. It's just the usay command to tag or commit tag with the tag int. The moment that happens, the deployment config will notice, okay, my int tag has linked to another image. I need to change my deployment, and my pods will be spinned up and teared down. QA, exactly the same as int, but what is worth mentioning is that in some cases you don't want this to happen automatically. You want this to do manual, and then in the UI you need to push a button to say, okay, deploy this one to QA, please. Exactly the same for production.
All right, time again for a commercial one. The second reference I want to make is in the area of in our industrial space. So the company is called Sultanj Bashi. Well, basically, what is the company? It's a company that is doing heavy foundation workings. And we got in contact with this company, I think more than a year ago. And they asked us, yeah, okay, cool. We are doing a lot of big projects, but we have a challenge to really follow up the progress on site. So it said, yeah, okay, doing progress on sites sounds like project management. Don't you have any tools for that? Yeah, but we're in construction. We are not there yet. With a lot of, call it advanced tooling. Currently, our tool is called Excel. To do the project follow-up. So it's like, okay, doing Excel, yeah, okay, why not? Now, they also said to us, yeah, but really we would like to have like some software that helps us to do the project follow-up, because we have like a rather big project in Hong Kong to follow up. And also the level of quality required is quite high, also according to our standards. And I said, okay, yeah, let's see what we can do. And now the challenge was for them. So in Hong Kong, you know, there's an airport very close to the sea border, but they want to expand it. And the company Sultanj will expand one of the runways, but the challenge is the runway is actually into the sea. So their call it mission is to create a foundation for the runway into the sea. And to give you a visual look, the drawing you see over there, so that's just a part. I think this is 25% of the total work to be done. And every orange block you see is really a pile, so a piece of foundation they have to make. Now, in total, they have to make like 63,000 or 67,000 of this kind of drill downs, and they really want to have like a tool to say, okay, where are we in this level of in doing the entire project, and for each pile we want to have like a level of details. So this was our, call it, first challenge we got, saying, okay, how can we do the follow-up? How can we, call it, visual, also make it clear to the team leaders or to the project manager on site, but also in the office in France, what the project of their status is. So as you can see in the drawing, some parts or most of the parts are still orange, but some of them in the upper right corner are already done, are already green. So this is really a live, well, it's not real live, but it's a screenshot from a live application as well. So this is to do the project follow-up for each pile they have to drill. Secondly, they really have to show or prove how the foundation was being done. And this is very specific to their business, of course, but they needed, for each pile, they needed to supply some kind of certificate. Okay, these days, or in previous project, they just used Excel and they used some kind of advanced Word with macros and stuff like that to have like, this is the measurement, this is like your quality report of the job being done. But for doing this for more than 63,000 piles, well, it's not very scalable. So we developed an application which can really integrate with the machine itself, read out how the operation was done, and make a report from it. So this is one of the results you see. I don't know how to interpret these kind of values, but at least this is really what the Hong Kong Airport Authority expects, saying, okay, for each pile, for each piece of foundation, how was it drilled? And secondly, thirdly, they also want to have like more aggregated dashboarding functionalities to see how the machine was performing, how really the soil is performing, because the soil is very important for them, because soil foundations, they give you stability. If you have a runway, you don't want to have like bumps into it, of course. And these kind of insights, these kind of dashboards really help them into, call it, exploring the foundations or the stability of the foundation themselves, even if they are already on site. So this was a second example. I will now give back the word to Frédéric.
Okay. Back to GitLab and Openshift at Axians. So what was the trick to make it that easy to deploy automatically applications from GitLab to Openshift? One of the tricks is that the GitLab runner service is deployed in the Openshift environment itself. And the runner service can spin up worker nodes who are doing these jobs in the different stages on demand. So if I commit a new version, automatically a pod will be spinned up with doing the task, release or build or test my application. Okay. And the second important thing was that the runner Docker images have the Openshift command line tools installed. So it's possible that in your GitLab YAML file you say OC tag or OC start build, and then the rest is piece of cake, in fact. Non-commercial break from Joris.
Is it non-commercial? I'm not sure. So Frédéric really showed you in the previous slides how you can basically start from code to a deployable, but also make sure that this deployable is like quality guaranteed, because we started saying we don't like bugs. At least we want to know if there's a bug, if there is a test that is failing, we can stop it before we enter into production. But also secondly, this is a CD part, the continuous deployment part, that we can like have automatically set up this kind of environments. So we spent quite a lot of time in investigating these kind of toolings. Yet they might sound simple, having just 3 tools, Openshift, Artifactory, and GitLab, just combining them. But yet we believe that at customers we see that it's still a challenge, and therefore we created what do we call the Axians Cloud. It's an open cloud in which we really want to share the insights we got to do CI and CD. And we make it available for anyone, for any customer, for any developer who really wants to have like a managed a hybrid cloud solution. So that means that yes, it can run on our premise, as was demonstrated on the presentation today. So it runs on public cloud infrastructure from a technical point of view, but yet we can manage this for you, just to make sure that the application that are running in a containerized manner or in a virtualized manner that are managed and really up to date as well. It's dedicated to container platforms. Also dedicated means that it's isolated for your kind of projects. So that means that if, for example, our projects, while we are not interfering with your projects that are doing, that's now these days quite important. Definitely coming with new legislations. And third one is you saw a lot of YAML files and a lot of coding. Well, for some it might be like a challenge to say, okay, how is this really interconnected? Well, we can manage. We can help you in this one as well in making like DevOps real. And making DevOps realistic for you guys. We like open source, but yet we love to have like enterprise stability, and that's really why we chose to go forward with a partner from us called Red Hat. Red Hat Openshift container platform is really like the engine for us to build on. This is also why we have like Artifactory and Gitlab as well, which are also supported by commercial companies to really provide this enterprise-grade support as well. At the end, we believe that the Axians Cloud will be more cost-effective. Really, if you compare to like things like scalability, if we see like the projects we have shown today, the two reference cases we showed today, they really like are dynamically scalable. I know it sounds like hocus pocus. Well, yeah, auto-scaling, it really works. It was like the first platform in which we saw that it really works. It scales out in an effective manner, and us kind of effective manner. You also see this reflected at the end there is a bill. You also see it on the bill, and ISO certification nowadays for the guys that know the 27001 ISO norm. Well, that's basically a quality label for IT systems focused on security. The Axians Cloud is really ready for this, definitely coming with the upcoming GDPR updated legislation. It's important to also be aware that the cloud, you put your data, your information in, that it is really secured and can be kept secured along the way, definitely coming with upcoming hacks. So, as a closer, so who is Axians as a summary? First of all, you should know that we are part of a group, Group Vinci. Some of you might know it as Vinci Parkings. Well, that's one part as well. But we are part of the Vinci Energies department. We are an international group, so we are, if you talking about headcount, well, we're rather big, but yet in Belgium, we are like a normal company, I guess, 35 developers that are really focusing on doing tailor-made software solutions, like the two cases you saw before, and doing consultancy like Frédéric is doing for Openshift, really helping customers in implementing the CI/CD strategy. We embrace open source. We always used Java open source technology, but yet we see the benefits of using enterprise open source stability, and that's why we are using a lot of Red Hat technology and building our solutions. But nowadays we are also focusing on like Azure, Microsoft Azure IoT, because we believe that they are also following the same approach. We are a premier partner. So that means that, well, it's a strategic investment. We use a lot of Microsoft IoT, like the project you saw before from Soletange. It runs on Microsoft IoT and the data platform Cortana behind the scenes. And like Frédéric mentioned, we use a lot of Spring, a lot of Gradle technologies, so a lot of great technologies. So hereby, we would like to conclude our presentation. If you would like have questions, please shoot. We have a booth downstairs. We have like this Lego minifix Axians branded, so just come over to grab one for the kids or for yourself. It doesn't matter. So thank you for your thank you for your time and questions.